Your latest book on Boris Johnson characterises him as the gambler. How so?
Well, I think Boris is one of the most luckiest politicians in post-war Britain. He's also a brilliant escapologist, but he plays to win, and he invariably has won. And when he's lost, he then always recovers. But he does take gambles. I mean, that I think is one of the greatest sort of original labels one could attach to him. He does play all to win. Sometimes he wins and sometimes he loses. But like all gamblers, he's never put off from losing. If he loses, he just tries again. And the point is what's so fascinating, that on this particular issue at the moment of Partygate, where I would have thought if there hadn't been the Ukraine war, that Boris was going to fall because he hadn't told the truth in Parliament. Along comes Putin to save him, and now along comes Starmer and Beergate, which is going to deflect again the spotlight away from Boris. And that's what I mean. He gambles, he hangs on, he refuses to retreat or to even consider resignation, and something comes along and he then picks up and carries on again. I mean, he is an outstanding gambler and an outstanding survivor.
We know, don't we, that he has always wanted to be Prime Minister. I think as a child, he wanted to be world king. But do you think he actually enjoys the job? Does he want to actually continue to be Prime Minister, do you think?
Oh, very much. He loves power. And his great tragedy in some ways is that having won, and the alternative, if he had not been the Conservative candidate, in my view, would certainly have been a Corbyn government. And there's no doubt he delivered Brexit, which was the popular mandate, and no one else could do it. But then he was struck by COVID and now by the Ukraine war, and it pushed him off balance. But he's also become a weaker man than he was, I think, when he was mayor. And the point is that his domestic life, I don't think, is very stable. And I don't think that he has actually at the moment got a convincing ideology. He has failed to continue to have a dialogue with the public, which was one of his great achievements as mayor, was that he always was able to talk to the people and they understood him. And he's lost that ability now. He may get it back. One of the great problems he faces is he's not surrounded by very, very capable people. I mean, he entered Downing Street with a motley crew. He hasn't improved much since, from what one can tell, and doesn't have a very robust cabinet. And the other great weakness he suffers is that the civil service is really quite appalling. They're not working and they're not very qualified. And it's very hard to run a country if you've got such a weak civil service and such a failing government system. So, and it's his fault that he's not reforming it. But he's a loner. That's one of his weaknesses. He's not someone who has got a dedicated, loyal team of people like, for example, David Cameron had, Tony Blair had, and Gordon Brown had. The trouble with Boris is that he has never really established those sort of relationships. And you can't run a government by yourself.